There is an ascendant religious group that I've been following. They believe that the United States is a Christian nation and that the Constitution is rooted in the Bible. And this group believes that Christians are called to take over the government and that Trump has been anointed by God to help them do that.
Many people have told me that God spared my life for a reason.
This minority of Christians has an outsized influence. They have proximity to power. They are going to be trying to accomplish a whole lot under the new Trump administration.
We're going to protect Christianity, and I can say that. I don't have to be politically correct.
Here are 5 things that they definitely have in their to-do list. The Establishment Clause is part of the First Amendment, which is, of course, the amendment that gives us free speech and also freedom of religion. And the Establishment Clause basically codifies the separation of church and state. It's important to Christian nationalists because they believe that America is rightfully a Christian nation. They believe that Christians should have control of the United States. And if we have an Establishment Clause saying that government is separate from religion, it will be hard for them to do that.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, at least 20 states have banned or restricted access to abortion.
Advocating against abortion and advocating against birth control is unpopular. So if they can rebrand this as harnessing the power of your natural cycle to prevent or achieve pregnancy, then they are really expecting that a lot of people are going to want to get on board. During the first Trump administration, there was federal funding that was dedicated to natural family planning. And then more recently, earlier this year, when IVF came under attack, there was a group of Republican senators that put together a bill that had to do with what they called restorative reproductive medicine, which was basically a fancy way of saying tracking your cycles to try to get pregnant. Now that Republicans have more power in the government, it is almost certain that they will advance more legislation.
Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry signed into law a bill requiring the 10 Commandments be easily readable on a poster-sized display in every publicly funded classroom in the state.
Trump has said several times that he plans to dismantle the Federal Department of Education.
We should abolish the Department of Education.
Whether or not he does that, you can expect that Christian nationalists will be lobbying for more money that is supposed to go to public schools to be diverted to religious private schools. They often do this through voucher programs, and it's been found that in the states that do allow these voucher programs, 90% of the schools that voucher program users attend are religious schools. Another piece of the agenda is to make public schools more explicitly religious. All over the country, you have these kind of test cases where legislators have advanced these initiatives to insert religion into public schools. This is the Bibles in classrooms, the 10 Commandments in classrooms, the school chaplains instead of school counselors. These are all folks testing out how far can I push this before somebody stops me from doing it. Much like getting rid of abortion, getting rid of same-sex marriage is broadly unpopular. Instead, what you will hear them saying is a lot about biblical marriage, traditional families.
I'm traditional marriage. It is changing rapidly.
These are all euphemisms for the idea that marriage should just be between a biological male and a biological female. So even though they're not saying get rid of gay marriage out loud, they're saying biblical marriage, they're saying traditional marriage, and they are launching a campaign to overturn Obergefell, which was the decision that legalized gay marriage. One major campaign strategy in this effort to overturn Obergefell has to do with the judiciary. Specifically, they are trying to recruit and install Christian right-wing justices in the lower courts with the hopes that eventually this will make its way to the Supreme Court.
Israel is the shining city on the hill.
This group of Christian nationalists believes that in order to bring about their end-time scenario of choice, which is the return of Jesus, that all of the Jews have to go back to Israel.
The 13th prophecy is the regathering of the Jewish people. when Israel was reborn in 1948.
In order to help that happen, America has to support Israel. You'll often hear them saying that God blesses America because America blesses Israel. So the Trump administration is kind of a key part of their agenda because they believe that because Trump moved the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, that he has been anointed by God to help them hasten this end time scenario.
The Lord said, it's my desire to put Trump in for 4 more years. And then something else was said that I didn't expect, for the sake of the nations. Yeah.
Over the last few months, I've been reporting on Christian nationalism. As the new administration gets underway, I will continue to follow these groups. Please check out my work at motherjones.com.